The law says, be respectful. The law does not say, develop me. The reason why I'm here is because we have to do both. We have to be respectful, and we need to develop people that we haven't developed before. If you could be so kind and shout out, no one is born qualified. Say that. No one is born qualified. So don't ask for qualified people, ask for qualifiable people. Let them be qualified in their entry position, and then take steps to develop their talents, so that then you can qualify them for additional complex areas of responsibility. Give me a bam. So welcome to diversity inclusion as a transformational tool to achieve the best hopes of APHIS and USDA. I work for Sauter, Betances, and Associates. We're located in Chicago, Illinois. It was so cold there last winter, politicians had their hands in their own pockets. Just kidding. And we're working for the federal government, so we may have to cut this one out. But I work in Chicago. Sauter, Dr. Sauter, my boss, my 4-star, is very, very sharp, competent, capable professional. Betances and Associates, we're in Chicago. If you want to take a look at World Wide Web, betances.com, you can sense a little bit of, you can see what we do. If you want to reach me, write to me at Samuel, S-A-M-U-E-L, like the prophet from the Hebrew Bible, Samuel at betances.com, and I'll be very happy to respond. What is a diversity professional, and why are they important in the transformational quest of USDA? A diversity professional is a person who is hired and invited by senior leaders and managers to assist in guiding a process that relates to the challenge of changing demographics. I want you to say, EO responds to the challenge of discrimination. Say that. EO responds to the challenge of discrimination. Say, diversity inclusion responds to the challenge of changing demographics. Okay, so equal opportunity is saying, don't discriminate. We're going to educate you on the ways that people discriminate, whereby they may not even be conscious that they're discriminating. Plus, if you do discriminate, there's a process that you can follow. If you can't nip it in the bud and get rid of it in an informal way, if it persists, the law is on your side. And there should an investigation take place, and then there should be some kind of a way of dealing with it. That's what EO does. It responds to the challenge of discrimination. Diversity inclusion responds to the challenge of changing demographics. Because if we're normal, we're likely to be apprehensive about people holding positions of leadership that they never held before. I had traveled all over the United States, and I've been flying for over the last 35, 40 years, and I have 3,200,000 miles on American Airlines alone. And for as long as I have been traveling, it's been my normal perception about the nature of things that when I get into that airplane and I look around and I look at the front deck in terms of who's in control and who the pilot is, what kind of folk am I likely to see up there? White males. I walk in a plane, I look up there, I see 2 white males up there, I feel good. I said to myself, it's going to be a safe flight. unless they get distracted in their computers flying over Minneapolis. It's my normal perception about the nature of things that when I get on that plane, I'm going to see white males taking care of business in the front deck. Well, because of my miles, I was going to do a commencement address in El Paso, Texas. American Airlines has a non-stop from Chicago to El Paso. It was Saturday flying, so there were not that many people, flying, so I got upgraded, and I'm feeling good, like I deserve this. First class. And I go into the airplane, and I looked around, and the whole crew was female. I mean, the whole crew. The whole crew. There were 2 white women out there touching everything. And my mind says, all right, transformation is here. They're not just flight attendants, they're also pilots and first officer. So my mind is saying, celebrate, wow, right on, we're getting it done. I am woman, I am strong, I am woman, hear me roar, woo! And my gut says to my mind, your mama. Why? Because I was normal. Would you say that I was being sexist, or that was just my normal perception about the nature of things? I was normally sexist. Are you with me? No harm was intended, even when harmful things were done. I was incompetent. My emotional intelligence had not been developed. So while I agree that this is something that should happen, then somebody like Cindy Smith takes over, where white males have ruled for generations, and people get nervous. And then you're going to pull an African American with a beard? It don't feel right. I mean, we even got somebody in the White House. He must not be born here. Why was I nervous? Because I was what? Normally sexist. I wasn't prepared. That is called status inconsistency. Say status inconsistency. When you see somebody with a lower social worth holding on to a position of high achievement, that means in sociology, status inconsistency. When Mr. Obama was elected, the State Department asked me if I would go to Venezuela and to lecture and to explain the meaning of the election. Why? Well, black president in the United States of America, through the ballot, not the bullet. And black presidents are not new to nation states. The only difference about the United States of America is that in this case, black people in the United States, African Americans, are only 11 or 12% of the whole population, not just the voting population. So for the first time in the history of a nation state, a largely non-black people voted for a black president. And not only that, the first 16 presidents could have legally owned this one. And so I went and I lectured throughout Venezuela about trying to make sense of the United States of America in the 21st century. Status inconsistency means when you put somebody with a lower status socially, ascribe, when you see a woman who has a lower ascribed status than men, has a high achievement in terms of responsibility, that is status inconsistency, and that makes us nervous because our emotional intelligence has not been fully developed. And what transformational outcomes means, your ability to educate yourself emotionally to understand that it is okay and that the mission is not compromised, and that you must resist the temptation of circulating gossip that would suggest that the reason why this person is having that position is because some kind of affirmative action or reverse discrimination or something perverse. To a lot of people, diversity equals perversity. And you have to understand that when I got on that airplane and I put on my seat belt and I said my prayers, that it was okay for me to be nervous because I was normal, but it was okay for me not to bolt out of that plane or to assume that women should not be pilots. Now, about 18% of all of the pilots in the airline industry happen to be female, and it's not because of affirmative action. But there's a demographic shift. I want you to say, shifts in the population create tension in the organization. I don't know how many of you worship, but my grandfather was Pentecostal, full gospel, born again preacher. And you would go to church. I don't know about you, but for those of you that attend worship communities, whatever your faith is, I don't know if you realize that some people have ownership on where they sit. There are families that sit in a certain place for a quarter of a century. And sometimes visitors come early. And you're going back there, ooh. It's not a written rule. That's where they sit. That's where they sit. Changes in the population create tension in the organization. That's what we're talking about in the workplace. Changes are happening. Women today are knocking on the door of opportunity, and it isn't just because they're female, and I don't know why. I can't explain it why scientifically, but women are graduating more often from college than men. Easy, killers, easy. Medical school. If you go to Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore and look at the medical school, 55% of the medical students are female. They're knocking on the door of opportunity. And I have to tell you something. My doctor passed away with pancreatic cancer at age 53, and his whole practice went to his assistant, another doctor who happened to be a female doctor. And my wife says that the best gift that we can give to each other, I'm 70 years old. I try my best. But the older we get, my wife basically says, Sammy, the best gift we can give to each other is good health. And so I have to have all my annual checkup for prostate cancer and stuff like that. And here I show up, and there's my doctor, and she looking fine too. In her 40s. And I have to tell you something. As a Latino macho code guy, that's my emotional intelligence, I don't like to disrobe to a man. But if I have to, you understand? For these purposes, I will. And she and I are looking at each other and saying, oh, my Lord. And you want to hear this one? We were both emotionally incompetent to do what was required at that particular moment. And she says to me, we really don't have to do this. I said, okay. But the fact is that we really did have to do this. And so she's getting her skills, and she's realizing that she needs to emotionally feel comfortable. Now, women historically have always had female and male doctors. So it's not a big deal. It's you go in and you get a checkup. But we guys don't. We haven't been. What is transformation? Your ability to understand that in spite of feeling somewhat emotionally under pressure and inconvenience, you're just going to have to trust the process. And that's what this is all about. So remember, equal opportunity basically says, respect me, do not discriminate against me by doing illegal things, and we will take steps to prevent that and to educate and to take actions to fix it in case it breaks down. And then there is this other wing that says we have to create inclusive, mission-driven teams of people that do not have a history of working together to get mission done. And that's why we need the two wings of the same airplane, and that's why I'm here. And so I'm Samuel Betances. They call me Dr. B, and I'm your diversity professional and guide during this workshop and training and encounter. Now, what I'm about to ask you to do is I want you to be conscious of 2 or 3 people in this room that you know very well, that are part of your circles of trust. They're people that have your back. They're people that you communicate outside of the workplace. People you depend upon. They're an extension of you, you're an extension of them. Be conscious of members of your work team that are like that. And then, what I'm about to ask you to do, if you're physically able to, is to stand up and give a vigorous handshake to those 3 people that are part of your circles of trust. And I want you to say, let's do transformation right. What are you going to say?
Let's do transformation right.
Then I want you to be conscious of 3 people that you really don't know. They're part of the team. They may even look a little suspicious to you. And what I want you to do is get out of your comfort zone. And I want you to walk wherever you need to walk and give a vigorous handshake. And you're going to say, let's do transformation right. Are you ready? Look around. If you are physically able to, please get up, mingle, move around, get her done. Please, if you could be so kind,